Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. If you guys have been aware, New Japan had a self produced show by none other than the House of Torture, of course, or I like to call the House of Losers. Basically, you can tell that this is going to feature all members winning their matches by cheating. So, I'll give you all the description about what took place on this one. And of course, we move on with WWE Evolve. As you know, Kali Armstrong makes her return to Evolve. As you know, she makes a claim that she'll regain the Evolve Women's Championship. However, she has to go through PJ Vasa. As you all know, she has become the one who claims she'll come after that title. So we'll see how things will go from there. And of course, we have Swipe Right taking on a very unusual tag team, Wild and of course Drill London. And of course, plenty other matches as well. And then finally, we move on with a 3 hour show from AEW, combining both Dynamite and Collision, because as you all know, this coming Saturday features Full Gear. But however, we do have two matches of the AEW Women's World Tag Team title quarterfinals. But the real question, who will advance? That's the question we will pay attention. And then we do have two opening qualifier matches for the Casino Gauntlet for the upcoming AEW national title, I believe is what it called. But yes, so we'll be following that and plenty more as well. And then, as always, we'll cap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Lead It Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world of pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information has been unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the talking. Let's get this show on the road. So, as I said, we got New Japan, and this one is, of course, it's the self-produced show by the House of Torture, Purge Night of Torture. And of course, we all know how that's going to go, so let's get to it. Alright, New Japan. Purge Night of Torture. Now, for those who are not familiarized with this, this is a self-produced show by a faction known as the House of Torture, led by Evil. Yeah, the same Evil, if you guys know who I'm talking about, who was part of the LIJ, like Los Ingordenables de Japón. Since then, he formed his own faction, originally started like a sub-faction and now a faction known as the House of Torture. We all know that these grease monkeys like to cheat their way through by using weapons and unnecessary tactics to do so. Now, we start with a pre-show. This one has Dick Togo being accompanied by Sonata by his side. He faces against Hip Togo. If you guys don't know, is being played by Ryusuke Taguchi, dressed up like Dick Togo, but much colorful. But the best part is Dick Hip, or should I say Ryusuke Taguchi, had someone in his corner. And guess who it was? The same guy who always praised Sonata, Milano Collection TA. So basically, he was by his side. Now, of course, when it comes to the House of Torture, as always, I keep mentioning these grease monkeys like to cheat. And that's exactly what they tried to do. However, of course, Milano decided, to kick Sonata's ass no matter what. But the best part is he put, of course, Sonata in the how what was it? Oh yeah, in the paradise, like to teach him a lesson for his betrayal for what he did, and he had it coming. But the best part, this match ended by a countout. Basically, what happened as soon as Dick Togo was trapped in the paradise lock, there was no way for him to get out. Hip Togo got up, and just like that, it was over after the 20 count. So luckily, Hip, or should I say Ryusuke Taguchi, won. And of course, what's funny, at the post match, Dick had to be carried out by wheeled a dolly out just like that. I thought it was so embarrassing. So yeah, that's what happened. Now, we had a little. The opening show opened up with a performance from a guy named Keijo3, I think, and the song is called Back On, something like that. I don't know what that is, but I have to say the music was pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm a big fan of music, especially like the heavy metal style. But yes. Now, our first match, we have a very interesting one. We have Evil versus Shun Skywalker from Dragon Gate. Now, what I find interesting, for those who don't know, Shun Skywalker, he's much evil than evil himself. Basically, he has ways to get into people's heads and play dirty games. If you guys remember, he went to the dark side. Don't fool the Skywalker name, because if you guys know, he is the resident Jedi in the entire Japanese wrestling scene. That's why he calls himself Shun Skywalker. And of course, but before anything else, Shun wanted to start an alliance with Evil. I don't know exactly what was the purpose, but of course, there was going to be some tactics coming around. Even lights were turned off. We did see Evil, of course. What was he? He unmasked the Shun Skywalker, and then of course low blowed him, and then he applied everything is evil. Just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. Now I mentioned they always cheat, so we were gonna see this throughout the entire night. Now we got members of the House of Torture, or should I say the House of Losers, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Chase Owens, and Don Fale taking on Masato Tanaka, Ikuto, Hideki, and of course Taichi. Now it's no secret why Taichi is in here, because for those who don't know, Taichi and Kanemaru used to be tight until he turned his back on what used to be just 5 guys, and then later reverted back to just 4 guys, and that led to the whole thing. I'm sure Taichi was looking forward to get his hands on Kanemaru to embarrass them, but unfortunately that did not happen, because Chase Owens was able to pick up the victory when he applied the crown jewel, which is the small package power driver, onto Idaka, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But of course, Chase Owens has his sights set to take on Masato Tanaka. Now, our next match, we have more members of the House of Torture. Well, Dick Togo is back again in the frame. This time he teams up with Red Narita. They take on Hanzo and the Great Zaski. Now, of course, when it comes to the House of Torture, I keep saying time and time again, these grease monkeys like to cheat. And that's exactly what happened. But, however, Red Narita was able to pick up the victory by applying a submission on Hanzo. And, of course, Hanzo had no chance but to tap out. And just like that, the House of Losers once again picked up another victory, which is obvious what was going to happen. Now we got the other members of the House of Losers. We have Sho, Dick Togo, and Sonata taking on the guys from DDT. We're talking about Kase Takeshi, Akito, and Yuki Uno. Now, of course, like I said, House of Torture has these certain type of tactics where they pull their opponents out of the ring, they try to beat them up outside. But there was an interesting moment where, of course, Sonata used his guitar in order to do so, and that's exactly what happened. And then, of course, what's his name? Doiki applied the Doiki Choki uh, onto I was it on Akito, and just like that, the referee called it, which was obvious. Now, our next match, we have Yujiro Takahashi taking on. You're gonna love this, Saya Kamitani. Yes, the same Saya Kamitani from Stardom. So basically, like that. But of course, now, have I ever mentioned to you guys the Hate and of course the House of Losers are similar? Well, Yujiro Takahashi got his ass whooped on various occasions. He got beat up by Kamitani, but she didn't do alone. She got beat up by the entirety of Hate. Getting spray face in the face by Konami, using the box and all that. It was a freaking nightmare, that sort of thing. But of course, what's funny is the House of Torture showed up and dragged Hate out of the ring. I thought it was kind of hilarious. I'm like thinking, I thought these guys were the same. But no, they're like, no, hell no, bitch. This is our show. But unfortunately, this match ended in no contest. It happened when, of course, when Hate once again tried to get involved, and that's how it happened. But Evil was not satisfied. It's like he's saying, Yujiro, you got your ass beat by a bunch of ladies. What the hell? I need to purge you for this. So basically, he's not happy that he lost to a but. Well, he didn't lose, but he got beat up by a bunch of women. I think he's like saying, "You are a man. You're supposed to fight back." But it didn't happen. But of course, it became the main event, Yujiro versus Evil. Now, what's interesting, everybody in the entire House of Torture got low blowed. Yes, that's their favorite signature line. They like to low blow their opponents. So they low blowed each other when one helps the other and all that. But the match ended in a double KO. So just like that, nobody won. But I don't know. I feel like the main event was dumb. But I thought the semi-main event was way too funny because Kamitani really kicked Yujiro's ass. But it was a really good show, so you guys should check it out if you guys get a chance. So right now we are done with New Japan. Let's move on with WWE Evolve. All right, WWE Evolve. Now we open up with tag team action. We have, of course, Jax Priestley and Harley Riggins, and they are facing against a mystery opponent of Timothy Thatcher's choosing. And the team he chose was the most surprising one we never expected, OTM, Lucian Price and Luca and Bronco Lima. So it was very interesting, but however, we do know that OTM are one of the toughest tag teams in NXT. So this would put, of course, Ringley and Priestley, how do I say, in a position where they have to prove their worth, and that's exactly what they tried. But however, they became unsuccessful when, of course, OTM pulled a double team move onto Priestley, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But during the post match, well, Timothy Thatcher kind of gave him a little plug. See, this is how tag teams should be. But that's how it's gonna go. Now, our next match, we have Xena Sterling. Many of you know this. She was part of LFG, and of course, she's a Ukrainian girl making her debut here on Evolve, taking on Karmik Petrovic, as you all know, from NXT. So you probably can guess that this match was definitely going to fall into favor with Petrovic due to the fact that she has far more better experience than Sterling herself. And of course, um, Petrovic applied her infamous move, the flying spinning kick known as the Catch Your Fire, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, in the back, we did see Tate Wild talking with Troll London, who he chose, of course. Tate Wild chose London as a tag team partner, but Sean Legacy was like a bit more disappointed because he wanted to team up with him. But it was nothing personal for Tate Wild because he thought maybe there could be some magic, and that's exactly what happened. We did see Sean Legacy made his way to the VIP lounge to get a little front row seat of this match. And of course, Tate Wild and Trill London faced off against Swipe Right, Brad Baylor, and Ricky Smokes, also members of Project the Vanity Project, and that kind of sets it up. But however, we do know the Vanity Project will definitely try to cheat their way through, as always. But somehow they were able to survive, both London and Wild, and I was very impressed. I mean, of course, Jackson Drake was outside the ring, tried to ensure maybe this will fall in their favor, but unfortunately, it did not because, of course, it was Tate Wild with the wild ride onto Brad Baylor, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. But of course, we did see Sean Legacy. He had his eyes like, I'm impressed. So he gave him a fist bump, like he gave him like his stamp of approval, like you picked a really good partner, and I'm proud of you. So basically, that's what happened. Now, out of nowhere, we did see Ariana Grace making her presence known, and she made her way straight to the VIP lounge. So that's what happened. But unfortunately, her visit in the VIP lounge was cut short until the arrival of Kendall Gray, our current Evolve Women's Champion, along with her bestie, of course, Carly Bright, because she wanted to have a little front row seat to check out Kali Armstrong and PJ Vasa, who of course were facing off. Now, I can tell that Kali Armstrong, many of us know who follow her, would think that she would have everything on their hand, but however, it did not go according to plan. Apparently, Vasa applied her infamous move known as the issue, and just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. But of course, PJ Vasa has her sights set on Kendall Gray for the title. However, Kendall Gray was close enough in the ring to tell her, that I got this belt, and she was attacked by Chantel Monroe. Chantel Monroe, as you know, also is gunning for this belt. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. I wouldn't, but I know Carly Bright was not happy that, of course, Kendall Gray was blindsided with Chantel Monroe showing up. But we just don't know what's gonna happen. So we'll see what happens next week. However, but the show ended with, of course, Riggins and Priestley actually were not happy with the results of how they lost, and they made a very unusual phone call to someone. We just don't know who. Hopefully next week they'll give us an answer. If not, then we'll just wait for the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned for that. But as of right now, we're done with Evolve. Let's move on with AEW Dynamite / Collision. All right, final review. Now, as you all know, this particular Wednesday is a combination of both AEW Dynamite and Collision, because this coming Saturday is in fact Full Gear. So let's get to it. Now, we opened up with number a number one spot for the qualifying at the Casino Gauntlet match. We have Bobby Lashley versus Ricochet. Now, of course, we all know the history, what goes on between these two men. Both sides, the Hurt Syndicate and the Demand, are trying to prove who's now dominant. Of course, Ricochet has been trying to prove that guys like the Hurt Syndicate never showed any respect for him, and he wants to end it. But it keeps on going and going. Now, when it comes to this, we all know that Ricochet would try to do whatever it takes to win. But however, it did not go in his favor because he got speared by, of course, the Almighty. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. So Bobby Lashley got the number one spot. We will have the number two spot soon. Now, of course, we did see the remaining members of the Ops, of course, Shibata and Samoa Joe. Now, of course, Joe, as you all know, he has his fair issues towards Hangman and hopes of getting another opportunity of the AEW World Championship at Full Gear in the steel cage. And of course, you know he had a lot of things to say about him. So there'll be more about that. Now, our next match, we have the Young Bucks and Josh Alexander taking on Skyflight, consisting of Scorpio Sky, along with Darius and Dante Martin, also known as Top Flight. So that kind of sets it up. Now, of course, we've been seeing some tactics coming from the Bucks and Alexander, but of course, the moment that was interesting, Alexander stole the spotlight from the Young Bucks onto, of course, Dante Martin when he applied the ankle lock, and just like that, it was completely over. And then, of course, Don Callis um, had no trouble to put out a little promo inviting certain members of the family to get in the ring with them until Kenny Omega showed up and Josh Alexander attempting to, of course, to break his leg, and then of course Don Callis telling the Bucks to finish off until the Jurassic Express showed up. Jack Perry with a shovel and Luchasaurus with a vacuum cleaner. I don't know why he brought that up, but very interesting. Now, we did see an interview with Renee Paquette talking to the Babes of Wrath because, as you all know, they'll be heading to their upcoming tournament facing off the Sisters of Sins. So, as you know, that's the idea. So, the real question we ask ourselves: who will be the first ever inaugural AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions? And me, there's a certain team that I will mention specifically which ones who, but stay tuned for that. Now let's jump into the number 2 spot on the Casino Gauntlet that's going to take place in Full Gear. We have Shelton Benjamin versus Mike Bailey. I thought this match was great. I loved it. It had great moments here that I enjoyed. Not to mention, of course, Mike Bailey tried to pull everything he has in his arsenal to take down Shelton Benjamin. I mean, a lot of striking, a lot of bit of high flying maneuvers that he can use, like the shooting star press, uh, doing the backflip knee drops on them, that sort of thing. But in the end, it was a super kick that took out Mike Bailey by Shelton Benjamin. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's done. So that means, of course, the Hurt Syndicate are in the whole thing, in this thing. Minus, of course, MVP. So can't wait to see what else is going to take place. Now, we did see, of course, the Death Riders, more specifically Claudio Castagnoli and Jon Moxley taking on Robert Strong and Orange Cassidy. So many people were a little wondering how Roddy would handle him teaming up with Orange Cassidy, because we know that he's not like okay with the kind of friends Kyle O'Reilly has, that sort of thing. But I mean, they did a pretty good job. But of course, we get interference coming from those scumbags Wheeler Yuta and Garcia, but it was Yuta that caused the whole thing on Orange Cassidy, and then Claudio Castagnoli took him out with an uppercut, and then Jon Moxley finished up Orange Cassidy with a bulldog choke. He refused to let him out until, of course, we had help from Kyle O'Reilly, and Kyle O'Reilly told Jon Moxley that their match in Full Gear is going to be a no holds barred match. So he is determined not to show Moxley this what happened at Blood and Guts was not a fluke. I'm going to actually do it again. So hopefully he does. Now, Kenny Omega, along with the Jurassic Express, had some things to say to the Bucks, more specifically about the things they were doing. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, we jump in course of the quarterfinals of the AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament. We have Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm, known as the Timeless Love Bombs. They take on Alex Windsor and Riho, which is a very interesting combination. Now, we know that that both Mina and Toni have been very good together, not only in singles, but also in tag teams, and that is very interesting. We're seeing also a similar type of dynamic with both Alex Windsor and Riho. I mean, they both started out with both the Japanese girls, Riho and Mina, facing off each other, and of course, Alex Windsor and Mina. But Toni did state it. This match is nothing personal. It's about, of course, trying to reach to the goal as to become the first ever champions, which of course it's obvious that's what they're trying to do. And of course, in the end, it was Toni Storm with Storm Zero onto Alex Windsor, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, Alicia Toot had Kyle Fletcher along with Don Callis taking on talking with Mark Briscoe, talking that he's not going to lose to them because he wants to make his family proud. Of course, his wife, his kids. But of course, this is the thing that really is what makes Don Callis the most snake of them all. They were supposed to be no physicality, between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. But of course, Okada and Hechiseto attack Mark Briscoe. And then, of course, Okada had the audacity to go up uh, uh, to Kyle Fletcher saying Proto Okada. So basically, he's trying to ensure that Kyle Fletcher does not team up with Takeshita. That's what, and I can tell that Kyle Fletcher's like, I don't like this. So that sort of thing. Now, Samoa Joe makes his way into the ring to do commentary, watching his boy Shibata take on Hangman, and that's exactly what happened. Shibata is determined to break him in half as much as possible before Full Gear. But there was an interesting moment where Hangman's boot was off, and and Hangman was able to put it back up, then apply of course, the buckshot lariat. But there was a moment where Shibata low blowed Hangman, and it didn't work in his favor. But once Hangman applied the buckshot lariat, it applied. 1, 2, 3 is over. But once the post match begun, well, he gave him a low. Hangman gave him a low blow right there. Just for measure. But of course, there was some reference that happened. He was looking at Samoa Joe about it. It's good that you're commentary because you're not wearing a poncho. If you guys don't remember, there was that one time he was commentary, he was wearing a poncho, which was very interesting. He even told that he sent Shibata to get dick surgery, if you know what I mean. But he also told him something else, a reference to a match that people remembered. If you guys don't know what that match was, it was his match against Swerve. He told him that he did things beyond what he was supposed to do. We all saw what Hangman did to Swerve, but Hangman said that he is not hesitant to repeat that again, but this time to Samoa Joe. But the real question is, will Samoa Joe should be afraid of that? We know he's fearless, but the real question is Hangman Page willing to go that far again? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Now, of course, coming to Full Gear, we did see Stokely Hathaway talking to FTR about, of course, the upcoming match, and they're determined to prove once again that they are legendaries and that they earn the right to, of course, to become the AEW World Tag Team Champions again. And of course, Brodito mentioned the same thing, but the only thing they can't stand is the way they're acting up. So we'll see. Now we got the quarterfinals of the AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament. We have Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir taking on Ty-J. So this is one of those moments we know that Ty-J have been looking for this for a long time since they first teamed up back in the Daily Place era, of course, during the COVID-19. But unfortunately, this match ended with Marina applying the mother's milk onto Anna Jay, and just like that, it was over. But however, their opponents had some things to say because they know what they're getting themselves into. Mina and Toni Storm are not stupid. They even sent out a great message to them about what's going to happen when they meet up with them in, of course, Full Gear. And that is something that, of course, they got to determine. Now, we did see a bit of an interesting match. We have the AEW Unified title on the line, taking on Mascara, but however, there is a very interesting stipulation that if Okada defeats Mascara Dorada, he and Okada, of two partners of the choosing, will take on Sky Team, which is, of course, Mascara Dorada, Neon, and what's his name? Oh yeah, and Mystico, and that's exactly what happened. But Mascara did everything humanly possible to take him out, but nothing worked until of course we did see Takeshita apply the Raging Fire onto him, which of course trying to piss off Takeshita. Then he applied the Rainmaker. 1, 2, 3, it's over. However, Don Callis was happy that this happened. He did announce that this title match will happen at, of course, the Tailgate Brawl in Full Gear. And then he mentioned who's going to be involved: Okada, Hechicero, and Takeshita. Now Okada had that looks like, are you effing kidding me? Now we all know Okada is trying to tell Takeshita, I'm the top dog here. You're down here. So we'll see what happens. Now, Chris Statlander makes her way to the ring to watch over the match to be the unified Women's World Television Champion, the ROH title. And of course, Athena was determined to do so. Red Velvet, as you all know, she never lost this belt, but now she's determined to defend it. But man, the match how it ended was amazing. I don't know what Mercedes applied. She tried to lift up Red Velvet, then she jumped off like doing a senton position, and then did like a little knee drop down on her, like upwards, and just like that it was over. And Mercedes Moné is the unified ROH Women's World Television Champion. And then, of course, she attacked Chris Sadler because, as you all know, their match will happen at Full Gear. So stay tuned for that. So this is going to be interesting. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen this Saturday. But as of right now, we are officially done with our reviews. Let's move on with some news updates. So welcome to our news updates. So let's begin as always with upcoming events, starting with GCW. As you know, on the 22nd of November, which is this Friday, I believe, we have Dream On. And of course, we have two matches have been announced. We have a six-man tag team match. One with team with YDNPR, which features, of course, Alec Price and Jordan Oliver and another tag partner. They face against, of course, Ryan Clancy, Flynn something, and of course Jack Cartwheel. So that's one match, and then the other features KJ Orso versus, of course, the bad boy Joey Janela. And then, of course, we have the highest in the room in LA. They'll take place on the 5th of November. We have Matt Tremont versus, of course, the man, the myth, the legend from Tijuana, of course, Damien 666. Now, we do have Jersey Championship Wrestling with Round Ball Rock taking place on the 14th of December. There's going to be a Jersey J Cup qualifying match, and we have Ryan Clancy taking on Rich Swann. So that's going to be interesting. And then finally, as you all know, Prestige Wrestling will be in a hiatus coming up soon. Well, they just announced their final show that will lead them to their hiatus. It's Roseland number 13, and it's called The End, and it's going to happen on February 20th. So they did mention it will be free on YouTube. So if anybody's interested, go check it out. Now, let's jump into some news updates here. Fightful Selects just reported and confirmed that Maya World and Hyan are not officially signed with AEW. However, they do report that Hyan and Maya World do have a great interest in AEW. So it would make sense. Now, I know there's been some recent reports regarding Hyan because, for those who don't know, Hyan was involved with Ring of Honor before. So if they are having interesting, I'm sure there'll be some negotiations coming up. And I have to say, Hyan and Maya World are doing a great job because, unlike what we saw with, of course, with Miranda Elise and Nixon No, they just walked out because they felt like they were entitled. Some people question why did they walk out, and apparently they are not in contract with the company, but they're not entitled to some demands. And I have to say, Hyatt and Maya World are playing that game. Like, they understand they don't have a position, but they do have the potential to be part of the company. So we will see what happens until then. Now, this was initially reported about and from Fightful. Jody Threat tells that that her TNA contract will be coming up soon, but she's discussing with the company. So I'm not. This is what she said. If people follow my career, they are probably realizing that yes, my contract is technically coming up soon with TNA. We've been discussing. I'm not going to say what's happening because I can't reveal my cards right now. But my goal, if I'm still at TNA, it's going after the goal. And I think the gold. I think my first 3 years with TNA was figuring out what it means to be on a TV wrestler and understanding the lay of the land. This year I'm back at TNA and I'm going to be eyes on the prize with the Knockouts Championship. Yeah, I would say she should be aiming for that, and I think maybe if TNA does have an interest of her becoming a Knockouts champion, that's something we could definitely see. Now, Kyle Fletcher made some comments surpassing, of course, Cody Rhodes as the TNT champion, and this is what he had to say. This was, of course, on TMZ. Proclaiming that I'm the greatest TNT champion of all time, surpassing Cody Rhodes, as well as Miro and Darby Allin. It's weird sense of imposter syndrome, a little bit for me. Cody is currently like the number one guy, probably of wrestling right now, the top dog, and be like, oh, I had a better championship reign than Cody. Look at me. I don't know. It's a bit weird feeling that it's reassuring to me like, oh, look at me. I'm doing better than Cody, better than Mero, better than Darby Allin. It is weird. It's weird feeling, but also reassuring that I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing, moving in the right direction. So some people like to say that he's better than everybody, that he is at the top of the game. I mean, Kyle Fletcher doesn't like to see himself that he's comparing himself to others, and it's okay to feel that way. I mean, I'm sure he respects those who accomplish great as the TNT champion, but yes. Now, remember if I mentioned Stevie Richards talked about how Logan Paul is far more better than everybody on AEW talent. Well, Kyle Fletcher's like saying, no, bitch, he is not compared to me or to anybody else. But Orange Cassidy is on the same page as Kyle Fletcher because he says something similar. And this is what he said. And it was on the interview with Adrian Radio. They're saying that Logan Paul is better than the entire AEW roster. That's like, I think Logan Paul is good. I think he's doing very well for his limited experience and stuff. You get angry at people like that just because kind of go in and do it and make look great effort. But he's not better than the AEW roster. I mean, he's like a another counter program word. So yeah. So Orange Cassidy doesn't see that he thinks that this whole thing from Stevie Richards saying that he is better than him, it's a load of horse crap, you know. And Kyle Fletcher said it himself too, that he is nowhere near the better than Will Ospreay, better than Kenny Omega, and you can tell that Orange Cassidy like saying, nope, he's not beyond that. I mean, he's good, but he's nowhere near that. So yeah, we'll see about that. But of course, I have to say this. Look, guys, Stevie Richards needs to learn to keep his mouth shut sometimes because you don't want to make people angry. And frankly, he's that guy who's doing it. So we'll see what happens. But until then, right now, let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming up. As you know, we have Ring of Honor and TNA as always. We'll see what happens after TNA during Turning Point. So a lot of things could happen. In Ring of Honor, I do believe we do have, of course, the Ring of Honor World Women's Championship on the line. Athena versus Harley Cameron. We'll see how that goes. But also a friendly reminder to everybody, we'll be beginning very soon the start of Ring of Honor's Tag Team Round Robin Tournament World Tag League. This one features, of course, heavyweight wrestlers. Keep in mind, folks, these are heavyweight wrestlers. And one particular moment I want to take a look is the combination between what the former members of LIJ teaming up with the War Dogs. That's going to be interesting to see. I know that Shingo Takagi said he wants to team up with Drilla Maloney, which was very weird, but very curious. So we'll see how that goes. But until then, I'll see what happens, and hopefully we get to see that. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.